How do you articulate your thoughts in English, especially if English is not your first or second language? And to understand this, we're going to look at one of the most articulate Hindi news anchors, Ravish Kumar. And he's someone who's quite open about how he's not the most fluent with English.
I've never
your state of
spoken
mind.
so much English in my life. I have started believing that this is not Ravish Kumar. This is the AI version of Ravish Kumar, who is speaking so much wrong English and bad English.
Now, this interview that you just saw is one where he is speaking almost entirely in English. And we wanted to break down how someone who's so fluent in another language, Hindi, is also able to speak articulately in English. Because one of the most common challenges that we hear is, hey, English is my third, fourth, fifth language, or it's something I'm not very exposed to. How do I still speak fluently in moments that I have to? Because I feel understanding these principles will help us translate our thoughts from our native language into English when required to do so in a more efficient manner. So we're going to break down some techniques that we learned from this interview with Ravish Kumar that you can start applying almost immediately. We're going to get into how to articulate your thoughts with clarity in English, even if it isn't your first language, how to allow your mind to translate thoughts from your native language to English quickly, and how to improve your delivery style to transcend language barriers.
By the way, if you're new here, hi, my name is Radeep from Frantically Speaking. We release communications content regularly, so if you're into that, hit subscribe. And if you want to take your communications learning to the next level, you can click the link in the description, check out our courses, and see if we can work together. And by the way, if you want us to break down an other celebrity or personality and make a communications video on them, comment that celebrity down below. If we get multiple comments of the same people, we might just make that video.
Now, one of the biggest mistakes we make is that we feel that because English is so universally accepted as a language that we need to be very, very fluent in it. And when we think of fluency in English, we think of people like Shashi Tharoor, and we want to use amazing vocabulary and just sound very, very articulate. But the truth is that as long as we're able to achieve a certain sense of clarity with our language, that's all that really matters. From then, it's also important to understand that making mistakes while speaking in a language that we're not comfortable with is completely fine as well. Of course, it's better if we can reduce those errors and improve our fluency in any language that you feel you're going to be speaking in a lot. In fact, I want to play a clip of Ravish Kumar speaking, and if you can notice some of the grammatical error he makes, try to make a note of those, and I'll explain the concept right after.
When Vinay invited me and my partner Noina to watch this movie, two of us was left in the dark room with a lot of popcorns and coffee, and I could not watch it.
Now, there were two grammatical errors in total. Number one was instead of saying were, he said was.
Two of us was left in the dark room
And instead of saying popcorn, he said popcorns.
with a lot of popcorns and coffee.
Now, those are not very big grammatical errors, but what I've noticed happen is that when we make these mistakes, especially when we're talking to somebody who we think is already fluent in English, we get thrown off our game and we tend to make more and more mistakes, and our thinking itself goes out of the window. But in this case, the message he's trying to communicate is coming across very clearly. So it's okay to overlook those mistakes as long as we're not compromising on clarity. If you notice in the entire interview, Ravish Kumar is using very simple words to communicate his message, which helps to improve the clarity and reduce the pressure in his mind of speaking perfectly. But one of the biggest challenges that we hear is, hey, how do I tend to translate the thoughts that I get in my native language, because I think like that, and translate them into English so that I can actually speak correctly? And the way I want you to understand this is through a very simple demonstration. So imagine if this hand is your mouth. Your mouth is moving and talking, and if this hand is your mind. Now, good communication in any language is when the mind and mouth are moving together. The thoughts are coming in, words are going out, articulate. But what tends to happen sometimes is that when we speak in a language that's not familiar to us, or that's not our first or second language, we tend to rush our mouth without realizing it. Now, if we go back to the demonstration, and if our mouth starts rushing, our mind is left behind. And when this happens, the mouth is saying things that does not require the mind. We might use excessive filler words like, or we might make errors while speaking, and we again compromise on clarity. The easiest solution to this is to control something known as your WPM.
So media is gone in India, John. You have many beautiful, you can have ice cream in India. We have wonderful ice cream. We produce top class cake, better than Britain and America also, yeah. But We do not have a kind of media which should be called media.
Now, WPM stands for words per minute. And if you notice in the clip that you just saw, and not just the clip, but throughout the interview, he's speaking very slowly and in a controlled manner. And when we do that, we don't only give our mind and mouth connection a better chance, but we're also allowing the thoughts in our mind to get translated from whatever language we might be thinking in to English relatively smoothly. In fact, the biggest advantage of this is it's not only about translating language in your mind. Even if you are a native English speaker, improving the mind and mouth connection allows your mind to organize its thoughts so that you can speak in a structured manner without blacking out. And that again helps us to actually deliver our message the way we intended. But what if sometimes that itself is a problem? That how do I actually forget about grammatical errors and everything, but how do I achieve good clarity while speaking? You might not speak in the most fluent way, you might make errors, but how do you still ensure that you're able to help the other person understand the emotion of what you're trying to communicate? That's where I want to introduce you to the rule of objectivity. The rule of objectivity is one of my favorite communication rules, and it really helps to break down first principle thinking, because it's all about when we are communicating, we generally want to know beforehand what is the main objective of a particular conversation. So for example, if you are in an interview, you're giving a presentation, or you're having a simple discussion, you want to have a particular objective in your mind for where that discussion is leading. In a workplace environment, it's generally easier to think in terms of having a goal for a particular meeting or conversation. In a casual setting, the goal can even be something as simple as just to entertain the other person and to have fun. Whatever the objective is, it's important to keep that in our mind, because once you have the objective in mind, the audience will be able to feel what you're trying to say, even if you're not able to say it in the most fluent way possible. Watch this clip as an example.
In any form, be it a political party, be an author or Arundhati Roy or any student's leader, you cannot watch it. Scale is very different. This is not a routine story of media decline. I know what is happening in US and in Britain and in Canada, but this media is something else. We have to be very careful. And I want to say this to Indian diaspora also. You cannot allow this media to survive or any kind, in any form, in our democracy. It's a very hard-earned democracy. Indian democracy did not arrive because God chosen one. Many illiterate people, many common people fought for more than 100 years to get this democracy. And when the time arrived, they debated what kind of democracy are we going to get in the Constitutional Assembly. This is not a gift of one party, one leader. This is the people's democracy.
You can feel how passionately he's speaking about media, India, democracy, and the emotion of the message comes across regardless of the fluency level. Now, of course, keeping all this in mind, we don't want to constantly make a lot of errors while speaking, but a good line to keep in our mind is, again, going back to the rule of clarity itself. That as long as the other person can clearly understand the message, we can let go of the small errors that we might make. But let's stop talking about language for a moment. In fact, what if we can somehow improve the way we deliver our speaking so that we can transcend language barriers? And here I want to break down one very important pillar of communications, which is your body language. Now, your body language is broken down into multiple aspects. You have your face, you have your eye contact, you have expressions, you have your posture, you have the hand gestures, you have movement, your stance, so much. But for now, I just want to talk about hand gestures. Because when we get too caught up in the language, we forget one of the most important rules of communication, that it's not only about what we say, it's also about how we say it.
पैसा, रुपया, लैपटॉप सब लेकर आ रहे हैं कि लो ये तुमको क्या चाहिए. विदेशों से पूछ रहे हैं तुम्हें कौन सा पैसा चाहिए, कितना पैसा चाहिए, लो.
Now you can very clearly see the amount of gestures that he is using. I'm going to play the same clip though without any audio, and just in your mind think about if he does not use gestures, how much more would the engagement level drop by? So regardless of which language you're speaking in, make sure that you're also focusing on the delivery of your communication and not just the words. Along with that, if you're able to forego small grammatical errors and not worry too much about fluency, as long as you're able to deliver with clarity, keeping the rule of objectivity in your mind, you'll be able to communicate with a lot more comfort, especially when you're not speaking in a language that's very comfortable for you. But earlier in the video, I did speak to you about slowing down your WPM so that you can organize your thoughts clearly and hence communicate articulately. And this applies regardless of what language you're comfortable communicating in. In fact, we made a whole video of different mental models that you can apply to structure your thoughts more effectively if you can slow down your WPM. And you can check out that whole video right here.